Hello and welcome to the show to be named later, Revisited, I think,
I like that.
In podcast form. I'm Jonny Voss. I'm here with my nephew, Noah Stoerzinger. And what do you want to talk about? Baseball?
Baseball.
Okay.
Baseball's won.
So it is April 2nd, 2023. Very special day for me for so many reasons, but I got to start out with opening day baseball. And my first opportunity to see opening day baseball on the road, Minnesota Twins, Kansas City Royals in Kansas City. Twins are 3-0. How long has it been since we've had a 3-0 team to start out?
Well, I'm trying to think of what we even did last year. I think we lost right away because we were at opening day last year facing Seattle, and we lost, I think, the first two and then picked up a final win to start the year, maybe 1-3. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 3-0, I can't remember, and I haven't been watching Twins baseball as long as you have, but 3-0, I don't know the last time we've started 3-0.
Okay, and now you are a transplant to Kansas City, Noah. Mm-hmm. It's still the Royals. How concerned we should be? Because my deal is Twins are going to have trouble scoring runs this year. I believe this.
Okay.
And the Royals are a pretty bad team. However, Rocco had some magic this weekend. And try to manufacture runs. But because it was the Kansas City Royals, should we be excited or not?
I think we should. I think whenever your team starts out 3-0, if the Royals started out 3-0, do you think they'd be excited? I mean, I think they'd have some excitement.
But that's a different beast, though, right there.
Well, sure, I think you'd have some excitement, but
this is a team that didn't score a run until today.
Right, and they hit 2 homers, but. I think there's some excitement, especially with the starters going over at least all 3 of them picked up a win, which means they all win at least 5. I think Joe pitched 6 today. Pablo
a lot of strikeouts.
Pablo went, 6 1/3? 5 1/3? 5 1/3, I think.
5 1/3.
Yep.
A lot of strikeouts, though, from the opening rotation so far.
Yep, and I think it's promising. I think it is the strongest rotation the Twins have had in... I'm trying to think of when the last time I thought this Twins rotation was
we've
strong.
always had a 1 and a 2, but never a 3, 4, and 5. You know, if you want to throw Kyle Gibson in either 3 or through 5, you know what I mean? Like they've had Santana, they've had Barrios, they've had guys that Liriano, like in the same number 1, number 2 is going to hit you, but never 1 to 5.
No, and I mean, you look at the stat I saw the other day, every starter in the rotation has been an opening day starter.
Exactly. So that will play into the bullpen because I think the bullpen is strong this year, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think trying to think. Maybe the only weak spot is someone we saw today, Emilio Pagan, who can't say how long he's going to last.
What about Moran?
Moran's going to last pretty well, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, first outing, gave up 2.
But you don't have a starting rotation any longer going 4 innings and then having to rely on the bullpen for another, you know what I mean? And so I'd like to give Pagan the benefit of the doubt. However, he didn't look solid today.
He didn't, and I'll give him this. He put the first runner on. I think it was back-to-back hits, and then he actually settled down. So maybe it was the first day jitters type of thing.
Right.
I struggle with thinking that he's going to be an effective piece in the bullpen. I think we have plenty of depth in AAA that can come up and be more effective. I think we'll see us make a move for the bullpen halfway through the year to strengthen it. But I do think this is something to be excited about on the pitching side of things.
Because you got to think that I've said it all along, we're not going to score runs. We're not going to score runs this year. Like Rocco having to manufacture runs, okay, that's one thing. But the Twins have left a lot of guys on base this entire weekend. And is that not a concern going into, because we're going to get to Miami in a second here, but I'm concerned that you've got to have solid pitching because I don't think this is a lineup that's going to score 6 runs on any given day. We got lucky today.
I agree.
We only scored 4 runs in the previous 2 games. You know, we're not going to be able to manufacture runs, we have to manufacture runs because I don't think we're going to. And we left a lot of guys in scoring position, left the bases loaded quite a few times in 3 games, and it's still Kansas City. You know?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, what I was saying was, I mean, yeah, Kepler is what, 0 for 12 or whatever to start the season, but you look 2 through 5, Correa, Buxton, Larnach, Miranda,
Right.
Scary.
Right.
Scary.
Right.
And I understand it's Kansas City,
but you get a sprinkling of Vasquez or Jeffers, who
even Michael Taylor's hitting the ball a little bit.
And that's, to me, the scary part of it. However, today they did produce RBIs, but we hadn't seen that most of the weekend. You know what I mean? And that's what spooks me about this team. And it's still only the Royals. Now, we go to Miami. We face the Marlins. And you said this is a team we should sweep as well. On the road, you're thinking we can go 6-0. Now, my good friend Marty just informed me that I believe it was 1968 when the Twins started out 6-0. Okay. 1913, the Washington Senators went 5-0. We're at 3-0. Can you really see a 6-0 team coming out of Miami, and then home on Thursday against Houston, the hated Houston Astros?
I think 6-0 is perfectly reasonable for this team.
Okay.
I think Miami, while I do think they could be maybe a sneak into the wild card, that's a tough
Miami
division.
No,
yes.
no.
I think there's a possibility.
Right.
When you got the Cy Young winner on your team,
Right.
there's a chance.
Okay.
And you added Luis Ariz.
Right.
You've got Jazz.
And you gave up Pablo Lopez.
You did, but there's a reason they dealt from their strength, which was their rotation. And I mean, they've got 1 through 5, not as good as the Twins, I think, but they've got some young guys that I think are going to be really good. Maybe not this year.
Right.
Maybe it's next year, but they got some good pieces. I think it'll be tougher on, that we're on the road, but I think that, it still is a struggling team and we're riding high right now. Okay.
What if they're 5-0 and Pablo Lopez is scheduled to make a start in Miami with that 5-0 record on? What do we see out of Pablo? I don't know the guy. Honestly, do you think, first of all, it's not like the old days where you watch National League, because they've got a pitcher that bats. So let's watch National League. And, we got WGN's got the Cubs and TBS, the Superstation's got the Braves. I never saw a Pablo Lopez start before Thursday. So,
and you were impressed.
I was very impressed.
Yeah.
But how is he the kind of guy that just go into Miami? You know more than I do. Would go into Miami, no problem. 5-0 on the line, come into my home stadium, and I'm going to pitch the lights out.
I mean, I think it's tougher coming in with a 5-0 record and then you're facing your home team, right? I mean, he pitched Venezuela, so he's probably got some family in the stands, and just a lot of home fans.
But he
there
pitched
already.
the World Baseball Classic too, right?
He did, and I guess they were in Miami, weren't they? So, I mean, again, I don't want to say it's a toss-up, but if I had to bet, I'm going to bet that he gives us 5 good innings at least. Okay. 7 good innings would be phenomenal as he works. I mean, I think you saw the first start for everyone is probably, that 80-85 pitch range, which I think is smart in terms of keeping your arm fresh. And I think as you build up strength, we're going to see pitchers going even longer. I think Rocco has already shown that he's going to trust them a little more going into it.
Okay. Now here's another interesting one. So it was 75 degrees today in Kansas City. You were there Thursday. It was, 50s and windy?
60 windy. Okay. Yeah, we were in the shade.
You go down to Miami. Weather's not a deal. You come home for your home opener. How will 35 degrees on opening day at Target Field affect all of these players?
It will.
I agree.
I mean, it affects when we played, we would go down to Egan and we'd play. And I just remember Egan was always super cold, man. And you didn't want to throw, you didn't want to hitting hurt, especially, even that's with a metal bat. Now you're looking at wood bats. It's hard, right?
Okay.
And how often how often do we see good, even just offensive performances that first week of the season at home?
Right.
Rarely. I
Right.
mean, I think last year, opening day, we saw one run be scored by the Twins. That was a Gio Urshela homer. So at least he put it out of the park. But, I mean, I remember even just a couple of years ago, that first series against Cleveland, we scored maybe 4 runs at most.
Right.
And it'll be tough.
All right, but okay, you brought up interesting point, like home runs, which I don't think we're gonna. It's not. There's no revisiting Bomba Squad.
Joey Gallo.
Well, you stole it from me. I was gonna say Joey Gallo. What do you think? Like,
Gallo.
okay, so everybody in the stadium, whether you were a Royals fan or a Twins fan, was hating on Joey Gallo, I myself included, and he hits 2 fucking home runs today.
Yep.
What about that?
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I think it's a early season overreaction, which are always pretty fun
Right.
though.
Well, he was 0 for the season
He
until
was
today,
Now,
right? Yeah.
He comes up. I think he grounds out his first at bat, but rips a double into the gap, right, and then follows it up with 2 no doubters,
Right.
Just
right. They were crushed. Yeah.
crushed. Correa loves it. The whole team loves it. You know this guy can put it out of the park. You've seen it with Texas. I don't think.
But he was
his
0 for
years
12 before.
He was, but I think you look at even Correa. I mean, he's got maybe 2 hits on the year,
Right.
in 3 games. Which again, it's hard not to overreact with these first couple games, but it is, these guys are playing, full games for the first
Right,
time. I
right.
mean, not that they played 9 innings.
And he got interviewed by Glenn Perkins after the game, and you saw he's a very emotional guy. He's a very, very just hard on the sleeve. Not really. I think we have footage of that, right?
We do.
You got okay.
We do.
All right, we're gonna switch gears here. Being too positive right now. Byron Buxton. What do we do with this? Because obviously watching him 2 or 3 days, and you want so much for him to do what you think he can do, and yet I'm not sold on it right now because you don't pay him to be a DH. You don't. And so that's great, but remember last year they also tried to get him down to 90 games, and it didn't even. So now you're starting him as a DH, which means he's sitting every 3 innings. He's just sitting on a bench. I'm sorry, that's not what you're paying him for. And that's not the skills that God gave him. Okay? And I always tell my students, that is a waste of what God gave you. If you are so talented to play basketball, but you don't like the coach, so you're not going to sit this one out. I'm not saying that with Buxton. I'm just saying you don't pay him to be a fucking DH.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think you need to look at the 2 sides, right? So, yeah, you're not paying him to DH, and yes, is he probably the best outfielder in the game
Right,
now?
but you can't
Yes.
see it right now.
Right, but here's the thing. Let's say you roll him out, and he gets hurt because it would happen, right?
Well,
now, you don't have his bat in the lineup. So at least here you're taking semi-precaution right now. He's not going to DH the whole year, right? I think they're ramping him up. Okay, he didn't play a lot of spring games. He played maybe 3 spring games.
Right. However, what you're saying, I watched 3 games this year of Byron Buxton. First game, I thought he got hurt. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. You know the play I'm talking about, right? In the first game.
Yep.
What was it?
Well, he was his triple.
Right, going around, look slow. When he flipped his helmet off, I don't know if you saw it because you were at the game. We watched it. He flicked his helmet off at second base. Did not look like he knew how to slide in at third base, and we were all worried, right? Yesterday, game 2. What happened then?
I don't count that one.
Huh?
I don't count that one.
What do you mean you don't count it?
That's
The trainers came
that's a
out to second base, and what happened?
They came out because he had to take a second, so you don't know. You
I'm
can't
just
communicate
saying,
from second
okay,
base.
then today's game, right? All of a sudden, a pitch that goes too close to him, and you just go, that's the season, right? So you can't say what if. You can say, hey, maybe it's not a good time to go to Israel, okay? But then you might just walk off a curb and get hit by a car. So how do you know going to Israel would have sped up anything in the demise of Jonny Voss or Noah Stoerzinger, right? When it can happen in your own backyard. That's what I'm saying. He's paid to play fucking center field because, your words, not mine, one of the best center fielders in the game. I agree.
The best, I think.
So you can't say, well, gee, will he be around in September if we limit his games? Is he going to be around fucking April 10th because you're limiting games? That's the problem I have.
I can see.
What, at 35, he's going to fucking, that's when you DH him, at 35, not where he's at right now. And I don't know. I think Brett Butler played 162 games one year in Kansas City. I think that's true.
Can you confirm that?
I cannot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No
one can even confirm which Butler played in Kansas City. But
right. I just think if I'm looking at Buxton, would I rather have him on the field or off the field? You rather have him on the field. I understand it's not the full capacity, but even when he's on the field, his bat is still one of the best in the lineup. Okay, so I try to be Mr. Optimistic with it, and the fact that he's still in the lineup after 3 games,
right? But
and he's scorching the ball too,
under this regime, though, you have to think even if he gets on base as a fucking DH. You don't want him stealing because he might get hurt.
It's true.
Well, bigger bases, Noah.
I get that.
No, bigger bases. Like, his eyes should be as big as these fucking bases. Don't you think? We don't steal anymore.
The Twins traditionally.
No.
I mean, Byron Buxton hasn't in a while. The Twins traditionally, and I'm still waiting to see that. And I think there will be more stealing with the rules, and we'll get towards the rules soon.
No.
But I still think, and we can again, it's been 3 games. Well, we can revisit it soon. But the fact that he's still in the lineup and he's scorching the ball, I think, is a threat either way. You don't want to pitch to Byron Buxton. You don't. And I think if he has the threat of, I mean, a single's a single, sure, but this guy has the chance to hit multiple triples, multiple doubles.
Right.
He's going to put the ball out, and he's going to put your team. He's giving your team a chance to win. And if he's not on the field,
when he's in the field and he takes runs off the board because of the defensive player he is, that's the only thing I'm saying. And I'm not saying Michael Taylor couldn't do that.
I was going to say, but that's where Falvine is so good, is the fact that they understood a weakness, right? And they went out and traded 2 guys that I don't care about.
Yeah,
and
except
they got Mike
they're
Taylor.
telling you as a fan, because we signed Taylor, you're not going to see Buxton in center field.
It's insurance. I think it's insurance.
Well,
I understand he was
I
in
never
the lineup for 3
I never
games,
cashed my insurance policy in on the first day. I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm still going with the insurance. I think we revisit it, and I don't know. I still think at least having Buxton in your lineup is a win.
Okay, all right. Pretty much around the entire infield, and I would say the outfield, a pretty solid lineup, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your whole? So we talked about Polanco coming back. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for the lineup then?
Well, when Polanco comes back, I mean, I can't even tell you a timetable for Polanco.
I thought he played 2 spring training games this year at the end,
he
right?
Re-aggravated a knee or something.
So he's not going to be ready for a while?
I want to say May. I think he'll be out for a month.
All right.
Don't quote me on that, but I think he is out for a while.
And they'll be tender with him coming back, correct?
Sure. I mean, I guess if it's a knee,
but
probably.
Okay, so that means, usually you have, with the DH, you have, 4 bench players, right?
Typically.
So what would that mean once Polanco comes back? Because
I think it's Willie Castro that.
Right, you said that.
Down.
Okay. So who'd your bench players be then? Farmer,
Nick Gordon,
Jeffers, and
why can't I think of the name right now? Who we say? Farmer, Gordon, Jeffers, and goodness, I can't think of it now. I gotta look it up because.
But then supposedly. we got to think about this, because then what happens if Kirilloff comes? Do you just put him in St. Paul and forget about him? Like, so many things we want to do is like get rid of St. Paul, like just like forget about it. You know.
By the way, it's
Are we gonna-
Donovan Solano, who I like.
I forgot about Solano.
I like Solano.
He got a pinch hit the other day, right?
Yep.
Um,
And he's going to stay. You get Willie Castro, they'll either DFA or they'll drop him down.
but what about with Kirilloff?
Kirilloff is a different story.
But here's the thing, though. In 3 games, we've only seen Solano for 2 innings.
right.
So-
but Solano can play.
Right. But
Everywhere,
not
man.
like Farmer came in 2 of the 3 games.
3 of the 3
You're
games.
right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I think when Kirilloff comes back, when he's ready, you need to play him at AAA, and he needs to get his swing right. We need to understand that, or we need to see that he can hit the ball still, because his wrist has been
Right.
destroyed for
Right.
basically his
Okay.
entire career. it
But
feels
then,
like.
okay, so isn't Royce looking at June or July for comeback?
This is
what do
where
you
it
do?
gets fun, man.
Well,
because
it
of
really
all
does.
this
And
depth.
you're an analytics guy, right? Like, you like to try to put the pieces wherever they can be, but how would you even, I mean, it's nice to have that luxury, to have pieces. Twins have never been that deep, especially, remember last year going into that Cleveland series, they had nobody healthy. So they had no players. Right now, you have a lot of players that you would say probably would make the Twins lineup opening day, right?
Yep.
Not opening day, maybe players, but would make the roster. So, I don't know. You're right. It is fun when we think about it that way.
Well, and then you even got to look at not that I don't think it's going to be this year, especially if we're rolling through the playoffs or something. But Brooks Lee could potentially come
You
up this
keep
year.
saying Brooks Lee.
Brooks Lee is hot in the Twins territory right now. He when we drafted him last year, he made it all the way to AA
Yeah.
in a summer,
Right.
and he raked
What about, how about Trevor Larnach, though?
Trevor Larnach too, man.
He showed us some this whole series, right? He
His-
picked up big time clutch RBIs.
Whoever loves a good baseball swing needs to slow down Larnach's swing over these past 3 games,
Right.
because this man just clobbered the ball. I mean, basically every at bat, and I mean, I could see it from how many rows back.
Right.
The mechanics are so smooth. He loads perfectly, and it glides through the zone. It
But
is
now,
phenomenal.
most of their runs scored were basically base hits with guys on. Can this team win without any power? Right? We know they have power. I'm talking about actually hitting them out of the park, though.
I think when you look at the teams that rely on power, I'm not saying the Twins are relying on power. I think they'll have some power. I think you look at 2019 Bomba Squad relied on power, right? The other team I can think about that really relied on power, I can't remember what year it was, maybe 20.
Well, the Yankees,
16. Well, I think
even
the
in
Yankees.
2019, they came close to breaking the record too.
But I think if you remember that Baltimore Orioles team with Chris Davis, Mark
Brady
Trumbo,
Anderson?
Brady
No.
Anderson. No.
Marty, he doesn't know who Brady Anderson is.
How old do I got to be?
Yeah, right.
But no, Chris Davis, Mark Trumbo,
Well, remember, Davis signed a fucking ransom.
great deal, Baltimore.
Right.
Same thing with Trumbo. And but they, I mean, it was either you hit a home run or they're
Right,
striking out
right.
because I think they had Manny Machado still.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
had
yeah.
who was that
No,
second?
he was just
Jonathan
up
Scope,
and coming. Yep. Scope hit over 20 home runs that year.
Adam Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, good players, but man, they relied on the home run ball. And guess what? They didn't make it past, I think, the first or second round in the playoffs, because if you can't manufacture runs,
Right.
That's, I mean, when you go down, even with basketball, right? It's what, free throws and defense win championships. If you can't manufacture runs,
Well,
like
but
the
that
Twins
comes
did,
back. Don't you think pitching plays into that? Like, I would rather take a team, I think, with the Twins that could maybe not score as many runs, but if your pitching staff holds you to 1 or 2 runs a game, maybe you're going to be good enough just to get by. if you have strong pitching in comparison to scoring 10 runs a game, but your pitching staff is a joke.
Yep.
And they're going to give up maybe 12 or 13 runs. And I just don't see it that way this year.
Well, I think what you're talking about too is, we dog on the Guardians now.
Yeah.
But that's been them for how many years now? Haven't built an offense.
That's true.
But their pitching staff, man. And you look at they ran us out of the division last year.
Yep.
And
well, in that series that you're talking about at the end of the year, when we had to win that series, or at least win a few games, I think we got swept, right? We had one guy who was on the opening day roster in that series, and that was Correa. That was it.
Yep.
And so you can't blame like Rocco in a situation like that. You have no players.
Exactly.
You know, and even Miranda, he was a rookie at the time, so you just had nothing at all.
And that's why as disappointing as that team may have been, I think it was hard to judge that team just with you could see every game.
But they were in first place most of the fucking year.
Right, but they were basically a 500 team. Did you ever notice that? So
every time
it wasn't
every
a
time
great
they could
team.
make a move to like make some ground on a team, like they're up 1 or 2 games, they never could do it.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And you're right. And so basically they'd have these great series against like very good teams where they would win 3 or 4 and you go, okay, this is the team, but then they'd have a Kansas City Royals.
Oh, they sucked against the Royals, man.
Yep.
And this is why again, overreaction, but beating up the teams that you're supposed to beat
Right.
puts you in a good shot to win a division.
Did you expect them to sweep the Royals, though?
No.
I did not.
If I'm being honest.
Even, and this is what I said, I think, at the ballpark. With a good team that you think, okay, the Twins, they're going to contend this year. They should go into Kansas City and win 2 or 3 games. And you would say with a really good team, you'd go, yep, we'll be lucky if we win 2 or 3. Just because it's opening day weekend at home in Kansas City. And they did something that I would not have ever put, like, even back in the days when we had somewhat good pitching. Oh, Kyle Gibson's coming in for the 3rd start. Mm-hmm. He 5-1, bottom of the 3rd. We get close, maybe get it to 5-4, and then end up losing. Okay. Disappointing Sunday, but an encouraging weekend for the Twins because they took 2 or 3. That's not what they did this weekend. They handled business the whole way.
They felt like, when you go to a Twins-Yankees game and the Yankees just feel just so much better than you. Even that's what I feel like. We
spot them 5 runs, but if it's the 8th inning and the Twins are still up 5-0, the Yankees are still winning that game 6-5. Right.
But I'm just saying, like, that's what I feel like. The Twins came in, took care of business. They knew they were the better team.
Right.
And I think all the fans around us knew that. I think there was some hope, right? But they felt like they were the big dog.
Right. Yeah.
And it was cool to see because you don't ever feel that sometimes with the Twins, and you all just know. Granted, everything else besides when Emilio Pagan came in, like, you felt good. Right. Even we'd up 1-0. I was like, I think the pitching can shut him down. I've never felt that way.
And how good was so at the end of I think it was the 7th inning, Twins went up 6-1 after Gallo's 2nd home run, and Correa came around and scored, and the sprinkling of Royals fans in the lower level, it wasn't like there was more of a Twins presence, I think, in the lower level. Maybe not Thursday, but definitely today.
Saturday and Sunday, man, yeah.
So have you ever had that experience where, so basically Gallo hits the 2nd home run, Twins go up 6-1, Twins fans are cheering, all the transplants or the guys that went down 35W into 35 to get to Kansas City to watch this game, this series, all cheering and talking shit because Gallo hit his 2nd home run.
Yep.
Correa played to the crowd, looked directly at us completely, and you could see he was fired up. How'd that feel for you? That was fun, right?
That is super cool, especially just with the way Correa, I think, interacts with the fan base. Yeah. I think they're very special to him. I know. I think He really enjoys Minnesota. He really enjoys the fans, which is really cool. But just
and
the
he
fact
says
that,
he loves Minnesota fans. We were his third choice. But sorry, you got something to say about that, right?
I mean, hey,
third choice.
They paid him a lot of money
Right.
over at the other places, but
And so you hope now, if this is the marriage that they have concocted only because Robert Wagner decided not to marry Carlos Correa, and I think George Hamilton said no as well. He chooses to go with Terry Kaiser, and I know you have no idea what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter.
this is the great old versus new right here.
Right. Okay. So Marty got that whole reference because it was a weekend reference, somewhat, not George Hamilton, of course, but to me, Correa still, like, besides the fact he's a cheater, it's hard for me to cheer for him because I think he would have taken any city other than Minneapolis. I really believe that. Like if he was, and if the money, the money was there, go nuts. I would say yes, do that. But then you hear him come back and go, oh, I've always loved Minnesota. Like I just love, in the year that I was here, my wife and kids, like they go to school here now, and that's great to hear. But
I don't know if
when I asked two chicks to prom and they both said no, I didn't get that excited about the third chick, okay? Because at that point, I graduated with 10 people, so the range wasn't too great. But I'm just saying, by the time you got to the third pick, you weren't too excited, That's all I'm saying.
So you don't think that? I mean, while it was. Yes, technically his third choice. We know it was always on his list.
Right.
Okay. And I understand that. I think maybe the difference is we've never heard a star player say, I enjoyed Minnesota. I want to stay in Minnesota. How often?
Right, but his actions were different than that. He didn't want to stay in Minnesota.
Money
he wanted
talks,
to go to
man.
Right.
Money
okay.
talks.
But
and if someone
it's
is
not
offering
the same comment than Noah. I want to stay in Minnesota. No, then you want to take $500 million to San Francisco, and then take $500 million from New York. And would your wife and kid be happy in either city, San Francisco or New York? No. But are you going to be happy in Minneapolis? I guarantee it. And even if you suck and you get shipped across the river to St. Paul, you'll still be happy, and your family will be happy. I disagree between fucking San Francisco and Stockton, California, and New York, and I don't know where the Mets AAA team is, but that's my point.
That's a lot to unpack. No, it's again. I think you're reading too much into it. I think you just need to take it what it is.
Because I'm a
you
fan.
have we have a star player, and again, I think of. I just think of, look, if some, like, I could love the job I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I could love it, right? But if some other company's offering me triple the amount of money.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to go there if it doesn't work out, and some other companies, hey, we'll take you. Sure. But then, again, that falls through.
And what about Joey Gallo or Gary Sanchez being so unhappy in a place like New York because they couldn't deal with the pressure? In Minnesota, nobody, and I hope we're going to change that right now, nobody talks shit in Minnesota. None of the media. Sometimes Guerrero,
they do it quietly.
but in the Minnesota nice way, where we're going to shake your hand and smile right to you, but as soon as you leave the room, then we're going to talk shit about you. And I'm talking about actually going to the ballpark and talking, like, I would have no problem talking shit to Joey Gallo. Then he hit 2 home runs. Okay, now I like you. Okay? I'm not that kind of fan. I'm just saying Joe Mauer would have got a lot of some negative press from me throughout his career. And that might be uncomfortable or unpopular, but I would rather have more of a New York edge than a Minnesota nice edge that just says, well, okay, John Gutekunst, great coach. No, he wasn't a terrible coach, but he was a great guy. Really nice guy. Great father. Great husband. He didn't win football games, though, for the University of Minnesota. So,
I mean, I try to put myself in their shoes when I look at why the hell would anyone want to play in New York? Big market, sure, and I understand that. And I just said money talks, but man, same thing. Like I think about like a Philly too. Just I love the enthusiasm of fans. I think that they should yell, and get on people because you're paying money to watch me, sure, whatever. But it is hard to look at, like, I mean, Joey Gallo's a good ball player. Okay. Anyone who's able to play Major League Baseball is a good ball player. Okay.
I agree.
Okay. You could tell New York, it was tough, right? Like he hit like 100.
Right.
And I think that affects you, right? And yes, Minnesota is not tough on you, but if it's able to bring out maybe the best in the performance.
I'm just saying that you should call out athletes, and typically Minnesota press does not. They just, as Minnesota fans, they might bitch if they're at the game, but they're not going to go to the game just to boo somebody that plays for Minnesota. Me, on the other hand, I'll pay any amount of money just to make sure that guy knows that I think he's a piece of shit if he's not helping my team. Now, not if you don't have the talent. I'm talking about guys like Miguel Sano, who has all the talent in the world and just doesn't try. I'm going to come and talk shit to your face about that. Most Minnesotans won't do that. And
I think the difference maybe between you, though, because I've seen it, but I think you are still respectful. That I think is the difference between maybe a Minnesota person talking shit and a New York person talking shit. New York people will. Well,
I don't dump beers on people.
Exactly, they'll throw beers at you. I mean,
right. And then it's Roger McDowell in the bushes, the loogie, the magic loogie,
or even like, again, if you could be hounding the guy all day, but if he turns around and gives you whatever, a nod, whatever, you have to respect it. And you are respectful because still, I mean, these guys, they get to play the child's game, right?
Yep.
Like they get to do what all of us wanted to do.
Yep.
But they do it at the highest level. There's a lot of pressure, and we'll get on them. But again, if you're able to, you still do it at a respectful level. Right.
And in later episodes, I will piggyback on that comment because that's how I got Albert Pujols' batting gloves. And very respectful. All right. I got to have a smoke, so I'm going to cut it for just a second here.
Let's do it.
All right. Now okay, so we're back. This is the show to be named later. Revisited podcast.
Yep.
Not in Minneapolis. We're in Kansas City, Missouri right now.
On location.
Which, right. You wouldn't think. You want to go to Miami tomorrow? No.
I mean, hey.
So before, we got to wrap this up a little bit. It's not like a big woo song where it can just go hours and hours, but you didn't catch that, did you, Marty? That was a pretty funny joke. Okay, so you want to talk rules, as I do. New Major League Baseball rules. What do you want to talk about? Which one do you want to... Because each one would need 45 minutes of conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? So I want you to talk about a few of the rules and wrap them all up, why they put them into place, and I am going to Donald Trump everything that you say in one statement. So go ahead. You've got a few minutes.
If I can remember all of them, right? We've got new bases.
Okay, let's get right on Byron Buxton because
bases.
I used to call him that, Marty. Byron Buxton back when he was a little kid, and no one knew who Byron Buxton was, and I used to call him. Anyways, go ahead.
Bigger bases. I can't remember the exact size.
They're big.
They've added. I mean, it's hard to tell from the stands and whatnot, but
it's like old kitten ball bases.
They are bigger.
You don't know what kitten ball is, do you?
I do not know what kitten ball is.
Oh my goodness, Marty, what's kitten ball? No, it's like a big, almost like a medicine ball, bigger than a softball.
They play in Chicago. Is that kitten ball?
Huh? What, pickleball? No.
Pickleball's nice.
Kitten ball. There's this big ball that the only person in the field that could have a mitt was the first baseman. And so,
in Chicago. It's the big softball in Chicago.
why is it in Chicago? I played it in Jordan, Minnesota, and it was no problem. Okay. Anyways, what was my kid ball reference?
The bases.
Oh, okay, yeah. So what's the purpose of the bigger bases? You said in a perfect non-Russian world, it would be because it would hold off on injuries for players, correct?
That's a reason.
Nope, but that's not the main reason, is it?
What's your main reason? Because I'm curious.
I was told it was the whole reason for the bigger bases, yes, injury aside, was to encourage base runners, to steal bases. Okay? So, as we talked at the game, Byron Buxton, we have 2 stolen bases last year?
Something around that.
It was stupid. It was ridiculous.
He didn't play very much, but
Once again, it is only to get a player like Byron Buxton or a Rocco Baldelli infused team who doesn't ever steal bases. Let's encourage you to steal bases. And if that's the deal, then I got to say, nope.
first of all, you should come in a little closer here. So
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I get a little emotional.
I know, right?
It is.
In terms of stealing bases, I think that's not only. I think it's one aspect of, yes, it is. I mean, you're looking at a small amount of more room, right, that they have to run, right, and a wider path for them to make it easier to steal. But I think that also coincides with the new pitch clock rule, which is the big one. We can talk about that soon. But the disengaging the rubber twice. Okay. So, I mean, I will say the amount of pickoffs, I think it was a lot, but
it takes away from...
Is it necessary? Yes. If you're trying to keep a runner close, you need to switch up, how often you're going to the plate, how often you're throwing over,
and gives you time to think about who is at the plate as well.
Yes.
And how you want to pitch them the next. Okay, so let's move to the clock, because I've said it all weekend and no one has backed me up on this. In the history of baseball there's no clock in baseball, right? You can go in the bottom of the 9th inning down 10 runs and go, oh, we only got 2 minutes to make 3 5-point shots that you don't get, right? Mm-hmm. You could string enough together to get it done, and that's what's so great. With the clock, everything changes. Whether you're a batter, you're a pitcher, everything changes on how you would approach an at-bat on both sides. And once again, it's to speed the game up that goes into my final point about why these rules are bullshit. But go ahead.
So, I mean, we know about the pitch clock, right? So you've got the pitch. I think it's 20 seconds with no runners on, 25 seconds with runners on. It's the minute the catcher throws the ball back to you. This pitcher has 20 seconds. Now, I have never personally tried it out, right? Where I like, hey, let's just go throw a bullpen really quick, and I just want to test to see how quick it really is. But I'll say, as someone who's pitched, the game needs to breathe. I need to breathe.
I agree.
In big moments, if
Right,
I'm like,
okay.
even 25 seconds with runners on, my heart's pounding and I need to take a breath. Oh, I have stepped off twice. Now, runner gets another base. Or, I took too long. Here's
Right.
another ball. The game needs to breathe. I've never once, I keep hearing everyone saying the game takes too long, it's boring, whatever. But I have yet to hear anyone tell me the game is too long, if I'm being completely honest.
I could watch what we did 4 hours, no problem.
Because I think the average game, and I don't quote me, but I think the average game last year was maybe 3 hours and 13 minutes or something, right? The average game now is like 2.5 hours. What's the difference between a half hour? It's a half hour more of
Right,
baseball.
and if you got a wife and kids, you don't want to go home, quicker to that. You want to stay at the ballpark as long as you want, right? Like, not one size fits all either, because I think it was Isbell on Thursday hit the bat in the on-deck circle, and I think pine tar or some kind of dust got in his eye. They called an official timeout, but like you say, you know how things go. Suddenly you take a swing and that speck is still in your eye and you need to step out. Like, no, we're just going to rush you through because we want to make sure that Charlie and Jeannie get home, in time for the fish fry at 9:30. What?
And I also think like, okay, if I get brushed back with a 99 mile an hour heater, get back in. Like, I mean, that you gotta, first of all, yes, maybe you're seeing fastballs every day of your life, but you get brushed back by a 99 mile an hour fastball.
Right.
First of all, your life flashes before your eyes.
Yep.
And you got to take a second.
Right.
Now,
the other thing on the other side, the pitcher, why do you watch tape? But, you've got one of the fastest guys in Byron Buxton at first base that you got to think about holding on, but also what pitch you're going to give, whether it's going to be a hit and run, just a straight up steal. I'm going to hold off and see if I can maybe get four balls out of you. It completely changes the landscape of the game. And once again, I'm going to tie this all up in a neat little package. Give me one more rule change this year.
Another rule change. Am I missing?
The shift.
The shift. Here's the thing with the shift. And I don't think we've actually ever talked about the shift yet. For me, I enjoy not shifting. What are your thoughts? I enjoy that there's no shift.
I disagree because, we had talked, my buddy Marty, we talked about, the old adage in baseball, you hit it where they ain't. And that's the thing. And if you are a major league player, a professional baseball player, and you cannot figure out how to hit the ball, what has that game always been? You hit the ball where there are no guys playing, unless you can hit it over the fence every time.
Yeah.
Can't do it. So that's on you. And if you don't know how to beat a shift, that's on you. Why would you take away from a team going, I think I know how to play this guy? Okay, it's like softball. If you had a rover, you had three outfielders, and you had your rover that played short outfield on any side of the base, only because you know where that guy was going to hit the ball, like Jonny Voss, who couldn't hit the ball just past second base. So you put defensive players there and say, prove me wrong. If you can't do that, why would you take that away from the defensive player when baseball is the only game in the world where the defense holds the key to whether or not you're going to score? You know what I mean? Football, basketball, hockey, it's all what the offense does. But it's on the defense to make sure that the offense doesn't score because the pitcher has the ball. You should not be able to take that away from anyone saying, I know Noah Stoerzinger is going to hit here, here, or here. So I'm going to put my players here, here, and here. Oh, no. Major League Baseball says you got to go here, here, and over there.
Here's my thing, though. And maybe it was just, I always thought a rule was you get 3 outfielders, you get 4 infielders, and they were moving multiple infielders into the outfield. And that's where I felt like, hey, just move your outfielders. Because you can do that still. You can shift. And you could put 5 infielders on one side of the infield. And you can still shift. And I think, sure. But I think...
No, you have to have 2. You have to have 2 on the infield on the west side of second and 2 on the infield.
Oh, I thought you could do...
Nope. So what they've been doing is bringing center fielders in to play rover.
Sure.
We're straight up... Okay, fine, but it's a way to get around the ship. My point is... Why are they taking it away? Because poor Justin Morneau couldn't beat the shift. So we got to make sure that more runs are scoring because America isn't happy if there aren't more than 2 explosions in a Major League Baseball game. So here's where I'm going to wrap it up.
Yep.
All 3 things that we talked about, those rules were made only to enhance the game for the fan. But it takes away from the game.
Not the fan.
Yeah, yes,
casual,
it is.
The casual.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
The casual. We're the fans.
Right.
We're the fans.
Very, very good point. for those coming to the ballpark to watch the game, not the true students of the game. Those rules are not made like, okay, we're going to put the speed limit up to 70 on 35W because it's going to make 35W better, and it doesn't make it unsafe or anything else. It's better for the driver and for everyone across the board, right? The 3 rules we talked about doesn't make the game of baseball better for the game of baseball. It makes it better for the fan, for the hitter, or the player, but not necessarily if you think about the dynamics and the strategy of baseball. It doesn't do anything for the true purity of baseball. It does nothing for it. Not one of those rules that we talked about does anything to make the game better. It only subtracts from why baseball is the purest sport in the world. Okay? It's fair. Pretty soon, you're going to have, well, if there's less than 1 out, you can't bunt because my kid wanted to see you hit a home run. So we're going to make you go back and make sure you try to hit a home. And that's what I'm worried about is that, Tuesdays after 3 o'clock, you have to swing for the fences. You can't try to sacrifice anything. And that takes away from the game. And that's what I'm worried about.
So first of all, I think I don't want to say change my mind because I don't think I think we both pretty much agreed on a lot of these rule changes.
Yeah.
But I think that the one thing I want to mention is, we're changing the sport for today's casual fan. Why do you think 30 years ago baseball was the number 1 sport in the world, right? Maybe soccer.
Why do I think it was?
Why do you think people don't enjoy watching baseball anymore? The majority of people, I should say. Because
And I can only say, as Americans, I can only say, because it is a global game, but in the United States, I would think, you brought up soccer, I don't think there's enough action per se in a baseball game. If you and I were to watch a 1-0 no-hitter, that would be better than a wet dream, right? Like that's what you were hoping for, and you would so much appreciate that and go, I got my money's worth more than my money's worth today.
Sure.
Right? Would your mom?
She couldn't put. I mean, if you just can't understand it, and I think that's the cool reason with baseball, especially the people that knew or played baseball, is you knew. I still think to this day, baseball is the hardest sport in the world because of. I understand, like, hey, if you could hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, like, I mean, yeah, you can throw your bat out there and make contact, whatever. The mental side of the game, when it comes to strategy and everything it takes to play the game the right way or even just win, is the hardest thing ever. And it's hard to explain to people compared to maybe basketball, right, or a football. But baseball's complex and people aren't going to understand.
So why rush it?
And I understand. But I just think about, like, you look at the World Baseball Classic, which I think was a win for baseball. A win for
and notice they didn't fucking do the extra inning shit in that was the right call. That was the right call.
Or the new rules.
Yep.
And I think though that I think the World Baseball Classic gained baseball some fans.
Yeah.
Of casual fans.
Well, who knew Great Britain had a team? I didn't know that.
I didn't know Israel played baseball.
Oh yeah, they've been in it a few years.
Czech Republic was pretty cool too. But trying to remember where I was going with this, but I just think that
the
World Baseball Classic it was a win. Mm-hmm. But I look at all these other countries, right? Where, I mean, we were talking to some Puerto Rican people at the game on Saturday. Yeah. Went to school at a baseball academy because that's what they do down there. Is they just play baseball. And so why can Puerto Ricans enjoy the game more than Americans? Right now, Americans have a lot more maybe to offer. But you got to
understand that in Puerto Rico, you have one option.
That's
baseball.
What I'm saying. Americans have more, more opportunities,
and
maybe.
Even in a place like, I don't know how it is in Kansas City, but I always think it's interesting that Minneapolis St. Paul has pro football basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, women's pro basketball, the University of Minnesota. They used to have a lacrosse team actually as well.
Yep, the Swarm.
There are not many cities in America that actually have the Big Five, have all soccer, baseball, basketball, hockey, football. Minnesota does. There are so many options that you have, and I know a lot of people that like football that can't stand basketball.
Right.
I know, but it seems like baseball, as far as integrity, I think it gets a big push. Like, yeah, baseball's cool, but I won't watch it. Hockey is never going to get to the level of those three sports, I don't think. It's not that it doesn't have its allegiances and its fan support or anything like that, but really, if the Wild are out of the Stanley Cup playoffs, do you watch hockey playoffs? I don't.
If the Wild are in it, I'll watch. But
Right,
honestly,
if they're out, then right. It's getting that way for the NBA for me too. But NFL, I always watch every playoff game. Baseball, I always watch every playoff game.
Right.
Unfortunately, you hit the nail on the head between the casual baseball fan and the ones that actually, like the guys we were talking to yesterday, where you could go back and forth. And, there's a lot of really good ladies that go to Target Field to watch the games, and you go, wow, they're not with men. They must really like baseball. I don't know. Are they there to be seen? Are they there because they like the Twins? Are they? And so that's a lot of, the deal. Like, oh, it's Star Wars night, so I'm going to come out, because my mom's the only woman I've ever seen since I was born, so I'm going to come out tonight, Well,
and that's why I thought it was tough, or I thought it was interesting to hear that it was tough to get people to the ballpark when ballparks have strived to add so many. I just think about
the Twins PR is so bad. Like, they've had the same wave cam, and it's so bad.
Oh, well, that's every stadium, man.
St. Louis does a very good job.
Oh,
but
well,
I'm sorry.
We'll go to St. Louis sometime then. But I just think, if you told me as a college kid, it's like, hey, there's 900 bars, restaurants, some entertainment. Let's go, right? That's what all ballparks are. I mean, even if you don't need to watch the game, the game could be there as added entertainment, but it's so fun at a ballpark, right?
I agree.
And why would you only want to be there for 2 hours? People go to bars for 5 hours.
I agree.
How are you not entertained with baseball?
$14 a beer, that might be one thing.
Sure,
right.
and those value nights are nice.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, and again, I'll say this too as we wrap up. The thing I don't know if Major League Baseball thought about, and I don't know if maybe it was just opening day. There weren't really too long lines at Kauffman Saturday and Sunday, and I think that's just fans don't come out to the game as much.
Right.
I think about, let's say the Twins are doing well and a lot of fans at the stadium.
That's the only way you'll see.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, if the lines are long at Target Field and I get up in the 5th inning to get some ice cream, a hot dog, whatever, there's a potential I come back in the 7th inning.
Yep.
And I missed the 5th inning and the 6th inning because of the pitch clock. And let's just say it's quick 1, 2, 3 innings.
Or you wanted to go to the bathroom too.
Minutes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. I agree.
That's where I was like, because opening day, man, we went out to go get some ice cream out in right field at the K. The line was pretty long. We've done it in the past, and you'll miss half inning. That's fine.
Yeah.
But we got out of line because we would have missed 2, maybe 2.5 innings. And also, first of all, at the K, turn on your stadium screens, because that's how I watch the game when I'm out there in the stands. You didn't have anything on, so I couldn't tell what was happening. And I hope Target Field has that. But
I got to back you up on that, because Kauffman,
you missed
unlike
a little
Target
bit
Field,
too.
I went out for cigarettes, and it wasn't a long walk. Like at Target Field, there was always only one place you could go. You'd have to walk all the way around the stadium. But back then, when they had smoking, by the time you got back to your seat, you might have missed a half inning under the old shit, right?
Yeah.
I went out very close to my seats, just had to walk outside for a little ways, and I missed a whole inning.
Yep.
Where the Royals actually scored today.
Or you missed.
No, they
Gallows
actually scored.
homer.
The Royals actually scored a run today. Sorry.
No.
But I was so surprised because they were already back up, but the Twins had already batted and they'd already scored. And I was like, wow, I missed a whole inning where I was like maybe 200 yards away from my seat.
And the prices haven't changed.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to figure that out. I just think, and I think it won't be an issue at the K as much just if I go get a hot dog quick. And I mean, I was able to be back within warmups, but like, man, I would hate for a large family who spent a lot of money to go to a game on a busy day, on a Saturday, right, when most fans are going to go out, and maybe my kid loves baseball, but he really wants a hot dog, but we come back and we missed 2 innings. The Twins had a big grand slam or something. You missed that because you were getting a hot dog because Manfred wants to speed up the game. But
all right, so the next time we talk, the Twins will be 15-0.
15-0.
Right.
Let's bookmark
it. Be. And by the way, I put $100 down in Vegas that the Twins would win the World Series this year. Just saying.
You've never done that.
Never done that.
This is the year.
You never bet on your own team. You never bet against them. No. So, all right, Noah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Started something good, I hope. Better than the hat that I'm wearing. There you go.
Awesome.
Jonny Voss, Noah Stoerzinger.
Thanks, guys.
Signing off. Thanks.